Alright. Today we are doing, honestly, a painful video. But one that, like, it has to have been coming for fucking generations, man. Like, this... I've been talking about this for ages. Let me... If you've watched any of this, who is to blame? If you've been watching my channel at all, you know my feelings about this team. So who's to blame? Who's to blame for how horrible the Rockets are? This is not going to take long because it's an easy answer. All right, but we're gonna put our candidates out here on this list. Option 1, Ime Udoka. I hope I'm spelling his name right. I think I am. I'm not even gonna check because it's not important to me. I'll get this bigger. There we go. Kevin Durant. Alperen. I don't care if I'm spelling his name wrong either. Sengun. Reed Sheppard. I know it's 2 P's. Somebody else. Somebody else. Or maybe I'll say the GM for like putting these players on a team. Who's to blame? Question mark. So, let's talk about people we can't really blame. Alright, we can't really blame... Well, let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Actually, I was going to start with who we can't blame, but let's just go... Let's fuck that shit. Let's cut straight to the fucking point. The coach is to blame. Ime Udoka is to blame. Answer? Answer. Ime is to blame. I'm gonna put possibles here. Dude, you can say that Alperen Sengun is terrible. You can say that Tari Eason can't shoot. You can say that Jabari Smith makes dumb decisions. You can say that Kevin Durant's turning the ball over 18 times a game. You can say that Reed Sheppard doesn't know what he's doing, like, is bad on defense. But every single problem I ever see with this team, I can point it back to bad coaching. Let's talk about, okay, let's say Reed Sheppard. All right, Reed Sheppard, he's missing his shots. He's bad on defense. He hasn't developed at all as a player. Like, his game hasn't really improved. You know what coach would have gotten his game to improve? Like any other coach. You put Reed Sheppard on Joe Mazzulla's team or Eric Spoelstra's team, I promise you, that guy knows how to play offense. He's confident in his decision making. He's making good choices. You put him on Ime's team, and Ime, I swear, like, I can just see it. I can just see the team meeting, and Ime is just like, you can hit the shots. We know you can hit the shots, so take the shot. And, like, that's the end of it. That's the end of the conversation. And Reed Sheppard's like, okay. That's not a fucking game plan, bro. Reed Sheppard can't go into an offensive play and be like, oh, I guess I'm going to shoot the shot. Then he's just going to shoot from, like, 4 feet beyond the three-point line because he's supposed to be displaying Ime Udoka's preferred level of confidence, which is overconfidence. So he just goes out there and he's just like, oh, I guess I'm going to shoot. And the rest of the team is like, well, I guess we're going to shoot. I guess he's going to shoot. And then Alperen Sengun gets the ball, and what does he do? He makes a bunch of dumb fuck decisions. You know why he makes a bunch of dumb fuck decisions? Because he doesn't know what he's doing. And you could say that's Alperen Sengun's fault. He doesn't know what he's doing. But there's somebody on the team whose job it is to make sure that he knows what he's doing. What is happening in the locker room and in the practice facility? What is Ime Udoka saying to them? I watched them play, and they look confused. Signs. We're gonna switch this. Signs of bad coaching. Coach. Number one sign, confusion. Okay, I'm going to tell you something that happens quite a bit and on a lot of teams. And sometimes this happens and it has nothing to do with coaching, right? But just like this is just a phenomenon, something that happens. Okay, let's say somebody's bringing the ball up the court, the point guard or whoever's bringing the ball up the court, and the rest of the team is sort of watching to see what their teammate is going to do with the ball. And their teammate decides to pass it. And whoever he's decided to pass it to is like surprised by the pass. Like they're taken aback. The ball comes at them and they fumble it a little bit. They're just like shocked that the ball came to them. This is a common occurrence. Okay, this happens on teams, and it happens for lots of reasons. It doesn't prove every time that it happens that the coach is bad. But what it is it's a sign of confusion. And when you look at a team that's poorly coached, it happens all the time. Signs of confusion happen all the time. And guess what happens when you watch the Rockets? They're confused as shit. They don't know what's going to happen. They come around the edge of a screen and they're guessing if the ball is going to be there or not. They don't know what their teammate's going to do. Because Ime Udoka is telling them to go out there and just be like, don't be a bitch. Go out there and, we know what you're capable of, Sengun. Look, you were able to beat Giannis that one play. You should just go out there and do that shit. And it's like, dude, that's not coaching. That's like blind encouragement from, and that's not even like productive encouragement. Confusion, this happens all the time. If I had an editor, I would find tons of plays. I could go through any game that the Lakers are playing and find tons of showing like moments of confusion where people just don't know what's supposed to happen. Okay, and this explains lots of problems that other people have. This explains, like when I look at KD turn the ball over 9 times, there's lots of reasons I can think of that explain why that's happening. Okay, one, the team sucks, right? Whatever. But the main one, the most consistent one, is that he does, there's no game plan. When he gets double teamed, Ime Udoka's like, pass it to the open person. And there's the extent of his coaching. He's like, well, try to pass it to Sengun. And then we'll go from there. It's like, what? What? If I was watching this team coached by anybody else, they would be killing the Lakers. You just switch coaches and put JJ Redick as the head coach of the Rockets. JJ Redick would have a conversation with the teams, like KD when he comes up on the left side of the court and he gets double teamed by these 2 players. I want you guys to do this in response. So KD, when you get double teamed, know who's double teaming you. Right? And we know their weaknesses, and then you should know what your teammates are going to do because we've talked about it. And so you're going to make the pass with more confidence, with more accuracy, with less hesitation, and you're going to have less turnovers. But instead, they're going out there and they're just winging it. They're winging it on offense, bro. It's pathetic. And who's in charge of the team? Who's in charge of making sure that they're a cohesive unit? I promise you, it's not KD. It's not KD. KD is not in charge of making sure that this team functions, like the team knows what play to do. If anybody in the world is expecting Kevin Durant to do that, they're out of their mind. I'm watching the game and I'm seeing people blaming Kevin Durant for what's happening with the Rockets. I'm like, look, Kevin Durant, let's write this shit down. Kevin Durant is not gonna fix your shit. That's not what that's not even what he cares about. Your shit is your problem, bro. That's Kevin Durant's attitude, and you know what? Like, whatever. You can say that that's bad for team morale. You can say that that's, not a good leadership quality. You can blame him for some things. if you brought Kevin Durant to the Rockets expecting him to fix leadership, expecting him to fix coaching, expecting the offense to just be a well-oiled machine, this ain't no machine. The Rockets are not even like a poorly oiled machine. The Rockets are like if you brought 5 people who never met each other in the court. I could go to a gym. I could go to my local gym and find 5 players. Find like a 4-man basketball team that plays at the gym that has more chemistry and is better fucking coached by themselves than this Rockets team. Okay? Who's to blame? Ime Udoka's to blame. Ime is 100% to blame. Now, the question then becomes, and we can write that here. I'm just flipping the pages. I don't care. This is an angry video, so I'm going to be angry. What would this team are these bad players? If the players are bad, then it's kind of the GM's fault. Right? If you're like the Pelicans and the GM is trading for Jordan Poole or whatever, his first name is Jordan, right? Like, who gives a shit? You can blame the GM. I'm not looking at the New Orleans Pelicans and blaming the head coach for anything. I don't even care if he's a bad coach. Like, your team is terrible. I'm not looking at the coach of the Sacramento Kings and blaming the head coach for them being shit. Like, who cares what the coach doesn't matter. The coach has been taken out of the game. The blame game the coach is not a candidate because look at the team. My team is DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, and, that one other guy. And who gives a shit? The coach doesn't matter. No coach is going to save that team. Only like Joe Mazzulla couldn't save that team because Joe Mazzulla wouldn't have that team. Joe Mazzulla wouldn't work for a GM that has that team. I don't think they're bad. I don't think so. I don't think that the players are bad. I don't look at Reed Sheppard play and think that guy could never be a good NBA player. I don't look at Alperen Sengun play and think that guy could never be a good NBA player. I don't look at Tari Eason or Jabari Smith or whoever else and think to myself, that guy is never going to be a good NBA player. I don't think that. I'm watching the game and I'm like, Alperen Sengun is humiliating himself, and these highlights are some of the worst highlights I've ever seen. But in the back of my head, I'm still never saying this guy can never be the best player on my team. I've always believed in Alperen Sengun. This is the worst season I've ever seen, but like, when I watch Alperen Sengun, I see a guy who's young. Let's talk about Sengun. Sengun. He's young. He's pass first, which is not great. He gets the ball and he reminds me of watching Anthony Davis from early in the season, where Anthony Davis would just get the ball at the top of the key and then just sort of stand there for about 10 seconds while the shot clock's ticking down. Just sort of like watching his team run around. And some teams that works. You give Draymond Green the ball at the top of the key and he starts watching his team run around. If I'm a fan watching that happen, I'm watching Draymond just hold the ball and wait, I'm sitting there with confidence. Not because, Draymond is the GOAT. I mean, he's really good, but not because he's the GOAT. I'm watching the Warriors do that with confidence because I know that they're well coached. And I know that all the players on the team are moving in synchronization. They're moving as a team. There's an idea of like moments where the opportunities are to pass it. Right? When you watch football, you can see a quarterback going through the targets. He looks at his first receiver first. The guy who's running the shortest route and who might be open earliest. You look at him first, and then you look at the next guy, and then you look at the next guy, and then you look back at the first guy, and there's like a sequence. When I watch Alperen Sengun at the top of the key, there's no sequence. There's no team movement. There's just a bunch of players winging it. And it's horrible. And when I see that, it's not Sengun's fault. It's Ime Udoka's fault. Why? Like, people will say Jabari Smith is stupid. Even Kevin Durant says Jabari Smith is low-key. Low-key, you know what I'm saying? He's dumb. Whatever. Like, who cares if he's dumb? They're not in the NBA playing on the court because they're geniuses. Nobody is. And you know what? They don't even have to be. Because there's a guy who's supposed to tell them what decisions to make. There's a guy who's supposed to make their decision-making easy. So we write bad decision maker for Jabari. There's a guy whose job it is to go to Jabari and help him make those decisions easier. I've seen tons of NBA players who are dumb. Tons of them. Like, what? Like, it's not even a bad thing. I don't see a dumb NBA player and think that guy will never be a good NBA player because he's dumb. No, I think, who gives a shit? As long as he has a coach who knows what to do, who tells him, like, okay, you don't have to wing it, Jabari Smith. Instead of winging it, how about you boil it down to these two choices? And then make one of those. I made it easier for you. This is Ime Udoka's fault. Ime Udoka's job is to come in and make this less of a problem. All of these problems are like Ime Udoka's supposed to come in and provide a system, provide coaching that helps these players grow. Let's do Reed. Because this one is like damning. Has shown zero growth. Okay, I watched a lot of Mavericks games. And Musa Cisse has shown more growth than Reed Sheppard. And he's like swapping times between the G League and the starting team. He's like an undrafted center. But he's shown growth. Like, I watch it happen. I watch the Dallas Mavericks play, and I see growth every game. Brandon Williams is making better decisions. Najee Marshall is growing. Ryan Nembhard is growing. He's making better decisions. Everybody on the team is growing and making better decisions. You know which team I look at and there is zero growth? There's zero mental game growth. There's zero emotional game growth. There's zero basketball game growth. There's one team that just shows zero growth. In fact, they go backwards. And it's the Houston Rockets. Here's another problem that is the coach's job to do something about. They're going backwards. They look worse than they did last year. Last year, they kind of embarrassed themselves versus the Warriors. They looked like little babies. Why? Because Udoka's a dumb fuck who doesn't know how to get people to be, like, grow. He provides nothing. Reed Sheppard should not be this bad. I look at these players, and I think to myself, I hope my team trades for them. Honestly, if the Dallas Mavericks traded Derek Lively for Alperen Sengun, I bet you the Dallas Mavericks fans would be so mad. They'd be so mad about that because, you know, Derek Lively has all this potential. We actually like watching the ball in his hand. Sengun is the opposite. We hate seeing him move. We hate seeing the ball in his hands. When the ball gets into his hands, it's like, it's the opposite of Derek White, you know? When the ball gets into Derek White's hands, you're scared. You're like convinced that something good is about to happen for the Celtics. There's tons of players in the league where it's like the ball gets in their hands, you're like, oh man, I was kind of hoping it wouldn't get into his hands. And there's tons of players in the leagues who it's like, oh man, I'm really happy the ball is in his hands because I'm rooting against that team. And I love it when the ball gets in his hands. It happens all the time. For the Mavericks, it'd be like A.J. Johnson. It's like, if I'm rooting against the Mavericks, I'm ecstatic to see A.J. Johnson with the ball in his hands. Because that sucks. You know? When I look at this team, every time I see anybody get the ball, I'm like, nothing good is going to happen. Of course, except for Durant, who actually can score. And shout outs to Josh Okogie and Clint Capella. Let's point this out. This is something I've noticed. Another sign that it's the coaching's fault. The only good players that are playing well, let's say the only players that are good are players, this is a very important point, and when you watch them, I want you to pay attention to it. Are players that don't need coaching. There are players on this team who they've already been coached. Okay, so let's name them. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant doesn't need your coaching. Kevin Durant, I guarantee you Kevin Durant is walking into the Houston Rockets facility thinking he's actually the smartest one on the team. He's walking in thinking that if he was the coach and he was actually seriously trying to be the coach, he'd be a better coach than Ime Udoka. I guarantee you he thinks that. Because he's right. Okay, my left nut would be a better coach than Ime Udoka. Alright? A monkey. A literal monkey. Pull him out of the jungle. You know, hand him a banana and tell him to tell the Rockets players what to do, he'd be a better coach. Kevin Durant doesn't need your coaching. And so, when he gets the ball in his hands, yeah, he turns the ball over, but that's not his fault. I honestly do not blame him for turning the ball over. Now, 9 turnovers is a lot, but honestly, okay, I'm about to say something about Kevin Durant that people are going to think is like a knock on Kevin Durant, but I actually don't think it is in my head. I don't think he gives a fuck about turning it over. I think he got to the fourth quarter in that game and he's just like, fuck it. I think he looks at his 9 turnover set from that game and doesn't give a shit. He doesn't feel bad about it at all. I think people are like, 9 turnovers, Kevin Durant played like trash. And you know Kevin Durant's seeing it. He's probably watching this fucking video. The guy is obsessed. Like, he's on this shit. And I guarantee you he's not hurt emotionally by that statement. That it's his, like, he's playing bad. He doesn't care about that statement. Anybody who looks at Kevin Durant's 9 turnovers and thinks that Kevin Durant is the problem there is kind of crazy. You know, that's like pointing to the Kings and saying that they're losing because Russell Westbrook sucks. It's like, what do you mean? Why are you expecting Russell Westbrook to carry the team? You know, it's like looking at the Mavs and being like, dang, if only Brandon Williams was a better three-point shooter. It's like, why do you... It's bad coaching and bad team design, like, to bring Brandon Williams in and, like, rely on him to shoot threes. If you're relying on Kevin Durant to facilitate everything, you are fucking up. Kevin Durant's not fucking up. You are fucking up, Ime. And it was the public position of the Rockets at the beginning of the year. We're not bringing Kevin Durant in to be James Harden. We're not bringing Kevin Durant in to be, Chris Paul, young Chris Paul. Like, he's not going to save us. He's not supposed to save us. He's supposed to just, like, clutch out some clutch buckets in the fourth quarter. And you know what? You know why they're so shit in the fourth quarter? Is because their coaching sucks. Who's another good player on this team? Josh Okogie. Now, Okogie is not, he's not the GOAT. Obviously, he's not even like Najee Marshall good. But when he's on the floor, I know that, like, I can rely on him to, like, make smart decisions. When I watch Josh Okogie, I'm like, that guy probably would be good in a gym because he doesn't need to be coached. He doesn't need a coach, really. The system he's in needs a coach, but he doesn't need a coach. This is one of the key things here, this part. Josh Okogie is reliable. He makes good decisions. Like, he's not the great shooter, whatever. But Josh Okogie's a good player, and he's, like, the second best player on this team. Why? Because he doesn't need coaching. Reed Sheppard, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Alperen Sengun, they look like starving people. They look like ascetics from like India, bro. Like people who like have been starving themselves to try and gain Zen. That's what they look like. They're desperate. They're starving for good coaching. They're starving for somebody to walk up to them and like grab their shoulders and be like, I'm gonna start saying shit to you that somebody should have said 5 years ago. But instead you've been coached by Ime Udoka, who's not saying shit aside from just nut up. Nut up. Like, Tom Thibodeau is a better coach than Ime. Like, Ime Udoka might be the worst coach I've ever seen in my whole life, and I'm just ranting about it for 20 minutes. Who's another player that when I see them on the floor for the Rockets, I'm not, like, worried about what they're doing? I don't blame them. Clint Capella. And again, Clint Capella is not like it's gonna save the team, right? I don't watch Clint Capella and be like, dang, that guy should be my starting center. But when I watch Clint Capella, I never look at a play happen and think that's Clint Capella's fault. These guys, these three players, I never watch the Rockets look like shit and think, damn, Clint Capella sucks out there. No, I go out there and be like, it's the coach's fault. Clint Capella at least like knows what he's supposed to be doing. Sengun doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing, and you know why? It's because he's not a simple player. He's not simple. He needs a coach who can like adapt to him not being a simple player. Sengun loves a flowing team offense and then working around that. He loves to pass the ball. Alperen Sengun's favorite type of play is when the ball is like moving around and everybody's in sync and there's good ball movement and then somebody hits the open three and it's like, and then he pops off. You know what Alperen Sengun is bad at? Is when you just give him the ball and say, you know, go do shit. I gotta stop just yelling about this, man. This Rockets team, who's to blame? Who's to blame? It's all Ime Udoka's fault. If the Mavs traded Derek Lively for Alperen Sengun, I would actually feel good about it. Okay, and part of that is because Derek Lively's always injured, and Alperen Sengun is not. But Jason Kidd, you give me Alperen Sengun, you give me, literally me, make me the head coach of the Houston Rockets, and Alperen Sengun is a better player in a year. Like, Ime Udoka, what the fuck? Oh, God. I made a vow in February to stop watching Rockets games. Because it's just so painful. I watch so many sports. I'm going to tell you about one of the sports I watch I watch sumo. I literally watch sumo. In Japan, yeah, I watch it. And you know what? They have horrible coaches. I've watched them coaching, and I've actually like seen them on the practice court, you know, equivalent, and watched these fucking Japanese concussed 80 times in their lives, drinking old school Yakuza affiliate coaches who clearly have zero communication skill. Like, the motto of a sumo coaching is, like, watch your peers and then learn from that. Is, like, how they coach. Like, what I'm saying to you is that they're bad coaches. Ime Udoka is worse. Ime Udoka is worse, and he's coaching in a sport that is a team-based sport that needs good coaching. If the Rockets had Joe Mazzulla as their coach, they would have been the number 3 seed easily, at least a number 3 seed, and they'd be a real contender. Alperen Sengun would be an all-NBA player. Reed Sheppard would be averaging 22 points a night. Kevin Durant would be averaging less than Reed Sheppard because Joe Mazzulla would know that, like, if Kevin Durant's the leading scorer on my team, I have a problem. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Ime Udoka's the coach. And his offensive game plan is just give the ball to KD and, hope it goes well. Either KD beats his guy one-on-one or he gets doubled and, then he passes it to somebody. Like, wow, what? That's it. I hope Kevin Durant is watching, and if I could give a message to Kevin Durant, I would say turn it over 12 times on Saturday, bro. Turn it over 20 times. Just throw the ball as hard as you can at Alperen Sengun's face, just as a joke. Throw, bro. Like, dude. If it were me, Ime Udoka would be the first coach ever fired mid-playoff series. And you know what? Actually, that's a lie, because Ime Udoka would have been fired ages ago. I would have fired Ime Udoka in February. Easily. I never would have hired him. Oh my god. Dude. Oh my god. Ime Udoka. It's funny, in February, I'll close it with this. In February, I actually went on one of those gambling sites, those like Kalshi or whatever, and I looked up if I could gamble on whether or not Ime Udoka would be the coach of the Houston Rockets at the start of the next season. I was like, is there a gambling that I can like bet on whether, because they tell me I can bet on anything on those websites. I can bet on like the weather. I can bet on if it rains, right? Can't I bet on whether Ime Udoka will be the head coach next year? Because I want to bet $1 billion that he won't be. Because he's guess what? He won't be. He's not going to be a head coach in this league next week. If Kevin Durant does the best thing he could do for both the team and himself and his championship aspirations, then the Rockets have been swept by the Lakers, and Ime Udoka is gone, and they hire anybody else. Literally anybody else, dude. Hire ChatGPT to be the coach of this team. It'd be better than Ime. Maybe ChatGPT could have a conversation with Reed Sheppard. Like an actual communicative conversation with Reed Sheppard and like get him to grow a little bit. Fucking, oh god, who's to blame? Ime. I'm hoping my team trades for Houston Rockets players. Because right now is the lowest they're going to be worth. As soon as they get a real head coach, all of these players are going to be better. Alperen Sengun with a real head coach, honestly, I've said it already, I'm going to say it again, I've been saying it for the whole year. If they had a real head coach, Alperen Sengun could be an all-NBA player. If they had a real head coach, Reed Sheppard could be an all-star, third-team all-star. If the Houston Rockets had a real head coach, I wouldn't have to care that Tari Eason or Jabari Smith Jr. are dumb. Because who gives a shit? They shouldn't be making decisions. They don't need to be making decisions. You know who's another player who's not very smart? I remember watching the Lakers in like 2021 and 2022 and being like, dang. Oh, what the fuck is it? Dennis Schroeder. That guy's not that smart. But who gives a shit? He knows how to play basketball. He knows how to hoop. He's not doing Sudoku out there, bro. He's not playing Chinese Go. He's not out there playing chess. Who cares if you're dumb? You don't have to be smart. But if you're a coach, you have to be smart. Ime Udoka ain't smart. Whose fault is it? Ime. I gotta stop. I'm out.